of this, what is the concept of this new retail store? Okay, so Hema is a store really during the pandemic. Hema actually grew their businesses 2.8 times, during the pandemic. So when all the other retail stores closed down and having difficulties, Hema actually grows their business 2.8 times higher than compared with last year. Also, one of the single store, orders is actually have reached about 10,000 orders at peak time. Just one store one day. So what happened on this store? Also, when the other retail store actually started to close down, and Hema is the only store actually in China start even expanding and opening up new stores during the pandemic. They even actually opened their 220 store in Wuhan, the city actually, which is the center of the pandemic, where everything started. The whole Wuhan city was closed down, was locked down, but they even opened a new store in Wuhan on March 18th. So this is also not only they're having good business, because the other catering services in China was also really had a very bad time during the pandemic. So Hema also starts hiring other people's staff. They're really saying, don't lay off your staff, lend me your staff, because we need more delivery service people. So they actually helped other people, actually to other stores, other catering stores, companies, to help the more than 5,000 employees actually to become a delivery person, to pay them salaries, to make to help all this delivery personnel, all this kind of stores throughout the pandemic in China in the last 3 or 4 months in China. So, but also you see, while other this kind of retail stores have been really struggling, during the pandemic. Hema even opened up more posts. They tried to employ more than 30,000 positions nationwide in the 220 stores. So this is really a magic, magic, isn't it? During this kind of a lockdown, a retail store is actually even growing the business. So what happened to this store? What is the business model behind that? So I really would like to show you a video to give you, for the students in Africa or for the students in Mexico or in other countries, if you haven't really been to this Hema store in China, I try to show you a video to let you know in more detail about this store. Okay, let's enjoy that video.
I gotta be honest with you. Grocery shopping used to be one of my least favorite retail activities. When I lived in the States, it was a tedious process that I avoided at all costs. But now that I'm living in China, it's one of the most enjoyable things I do on any given day. All thanks to Alibaba's Hema supermarket.
Clearly, I am not the only one who enjoys shopping here. Hema is one of the hottest retail destinations in China right now. Started off as just one store 3 years ago, and now there are many stores across multiple cities in China. And there are plans for as many as 2,000 over the next 5 years. But what makes Hema so popular?
Well, Alibaba has effectively digitized the entire grocery shopping experience and delivered it right to my mobile phone. Now I can get what I want, anytime, delivered anywhere I want it, with just a few taps of the thumb. And there are a ton of great features inside the store too, like the emphasis on fresh foods. One of the reasons people like to go to Hema instead of ordering online is to choose their own fresh foods. This cabbage right here has a big number 3 on it for Wednesday, which means it arrived at the store today. And the same goes for this milk right here too. When I get to Hema, I open the app, and then off I go to fill my shopping cart. If I have any questions at all about a product, I just scan and see the full ingredient list, or I can see where it came from.
The app tracks all my purchases and browsing habits. That way Hema can make highly personalized recommendations the next time I shop. Like this morning when I came in the store, the app recommended this coconut water. I guess by now Hema knows I'm a bit of a health nut, but this looks really good, so I'm going to give it a shot.
And if you're not in the mood to go home and cook this Alaskan king crab yourself, they can do it for you here. Eat as you shop and get it all done. When I'm done shopping, I check out with Alipay.
All of these features make Hema a great modern supermarket. But if you really want to understand the magic of this store, you have to look up.
Those conveyor belts are located over the store because Hema also serves as a fulfillment center. In a sense, the market is the warehouse. And see these people running around with the Hema sweatshirts on? They are fulfilling online orders. Once the order's filled, the bags, each with their own unique barcode, are sent to a packing room and then off for delivery. And with its sophisticated fulfillment system, Hema delivers in as fast as 30 minutes within a 3-kilometer radius, both groceries and cooked food. When I just don't feel like going to the store, I open the Hema app and fill my virtual shopping cart all the same. And because the app displays only what's available now at my local store, I know I can get what I want, and I know it will come quickly. Market, food court, warehouse, and fulfillment center, all powered by a mobile app. Hema has definitely made my life easier. And this is just one of Alibaba's innovations to integrate online and offline retail. It's good to be a consumer in China these days.
Okay, so you've been watching the video. So how do you think about it? So anyone have an idea now how Hema works as a very new, innovative digital retail store? So basically, this is actually Alibaba new innovation. As I say, they are really understanding the customers, their needs. They really have the customer insights, and it delivers a seamless and highly personalized shopping experience, a very highly personalized, also digitalized, online-offline combination of, the new shopping experience. We call it new retail here in China. But really, back to square one, if we're just thinking about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, before Alibaba had this kind of new innovation, where did they start? How do they kind of have so many new ideas of trying to go down to the retail industry, try to disrupt the retail industry, and have become a very innovative, online, offline combination of the shopping experience? I believe the first thing is about they really starting from understanding who is their customer. So it's very important for us to understand the customer personas. If they just thinking about 2 years ago, when Alibaba started, they wanted this kind of new innovation. The first thing I believe they've done is that they draw a very clear of the consumer persona. I want to really emphasize that as well. In the next round of selection, we will be really looking very, very carefully about how much research you have done, how deeply you go down to the customer research, and how good you can really draw a customer persona. So to try to give you this kind of idea, today we try to invite an expert to come to this session, who's Andy. Can you join me, Andy?
Yeah.
So this is Andy. Andy actually is our GT lecturer, but also he works full-time as a digital strategist. a very famous major digital marketing company here in China. He used to be dealing with customers like Disneyland, Costa Coffee, Nike, all these big brands for their digital solution, digital marketing strategies. So I will hand over my session today to Andy to give you detailed understanding about what do we mean by persona. I used to really ask Andy about this question, say, Andy, why is this just persona now? What is the difference between persona and something when we actually were in the business school, we always studied customer segmentation.
Right.
So I really asked Andy, what is the difference between this customer segmentation and the customer persona? And why do we need a persona? That was really, when we developed this program, I always asking Andy this question. So I would like to hand over to Andy now. I believe Andy will give you a full explanation of that.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, thanks guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thanks for taking the time, and it's a pleasure to be here to chat with you guys tonight. So I'm here to talk about customer persona and the importance of customer personas. So, like Mr. Joe said, when you go to business school, maybe a couple of decades ago, we were talking more about customer segmentation. And now there's this movement towards customer persona. Why is that happening? Well, one of the major reasons why this is happening and what we're experiencing as professionals in the field is that because of social, because of digital, the amount of channels and the amount of ways to communicate with your end consumers has skyrocketed. There's so many different channels and so many different ways to interact that you need a way to understand the consumer, and you need a way for the entire company to understand who the consumers are, and so that you can have a very fluid and very consistent messaging to your end consumers. So today we're going to walk through a bunch of slides, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples, and then we're going to do a mock interview in which I'm going to interview a busy Amy, and we're going to go through the mock interview and show you a process of how I would interview somebody to get some very critical consumer insights. So, customer segmentation. So this is the old school way of doing it. Customer segmentation is just the process of dividing customers into groups with common characteristics so that you can effectively reach them. Customer segments don't provide insights into particular consumers, but they provide insights into a group of consumers. And this allows you to understand that group of consumers. But what we're going through now is we're going to move and dig into individual consumers. And this is when we get into consumer personas. Consumer personas are semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer base, based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So this is an individual that you will essentially be making up. It's fictitious, but it's based on market research and it's based on real data. You're going to make some assumptions here. So there's no perfect consumer persona at the beginning. Over time, you're going to develop this consumer persona as you get more data, as you get more understanding of who this person is. You come back to it, you adjust it, and you make it better. Right? So consumer personas start with fundamental, foundational demographic information, and then you add on this emotional and behavioral component. When completed, they can help companies understand the need states of the end goals of the individual consumers. So where customer segmentation didn't dig into these emotional need states and end goals of the consumers, consumer personas do. And that's where you end up getting a lot of critical consumer insights that will impact your marketing and impact your product development. So here's a quick example. If you were to segment your consumers by demographics, you would have something like backgrounds and demographics, which include sex, your gender, your age, income, power, income, spending power, and the location of where they live. But if you look at the consumer persona, then we start to add in all these other levels of psychographics that includes the goals, the challenges, common objections, biggest fears, right? So once you start to understand what the challenges consumers have, especially when they are using your product or when you're trying to think of the marketing campaign, then you can really speak to them, or you can really create products that resonate to them, that they will actually want to use, buy, and then recommend to their friends. So all of this is part of this movement that's happening right now in the internet era, where we're moving towards a consumer-centric future, where this future is evolving around the consumer. And it's the consumers that drive a lot of business decisions, drive what products are being made, drives what marketing messages need to be given away. And if you don't understand the challenges, the fears that the consumers have, you're essentially creating marketing and sales efforts that are just guess. You're just guessing. You're even creating products that are based on guess, right? You're just assuming that the consumers think a certain way. You don't know. And that's a huge risk to the company and a huge risk to the success of that product. So when I talk to brands and when I work with brands, where they're moving towards is a very, even like in food products, in food companies, they're moving towards creating products that are based on consumers' needs and consumers' interests. And they're using a lot of the new tech ways of solving this problem of not having huge risk. So one of my friends who works at a big MNCs, they're creating a lot of the snacks. They create a product. They go to the consumers. They ask the consumers, what do you guys think? How do you guys feel about this? Do you guys like it? And then they tested it in the small markets. Then they bring back what they hear, what they get. And then they change the product. They make it better. And they put it back into that market, a small market, test it again, get the consumer feedback, and then go back to the drawing boards, build it out again, until they have a product that they're comfortable with. And then they launch across the country. This is a great way for them to minimize their risk, get a ton of consumer insights, and then develop their product, right? It's a very iterative process. And this is what is leading to more successful brands. So I'm going to summarize a couple of importances for marketing. Consumer personas inform marketing strategies, right? If you're going to create a marketing strategy, you definitely need to know who your consumers are and what they're thinking, what they want, what their needs are. Without this, you don't really have a marketing strategy. Then you get to understand what the challenges and the motivations are for the consumers. Once you understand their challenges, once you understand their motivation, then it becomes much easier for the content person to create content. Because if they know that the challenge is X, then they know then they have to talk about the solution. And then they get to a spot where the consumers will listen and will like, oh yeah, right, you do have the right solution to my needs. The third one is targeted and consistent digital interactions. Like I said at the start, there are so many ways for brands to talk to consumers now. There are tons of touch points. As a company, you need to establish who your consumer persona is so that everyone in the company talks to and understands this consumer in the same way, so that when they talk to that person, it's very consistent. And if you understand, and when it's consistent, consumers will really be more resonated to your message. Because if you go on Instagram, right, and your behavior is one way, and you go on Facebook and your behavior is a different way, that doesn't make sense. There's no consistency in the branding.